Hello, and welcome to your latest episode of TGIW. It is Wednesday, so it is time for Thank God It Is Wednesday, looking at today's comic book pickups and what we covered last week. So this week was a fairly decent week. Not too big, not too small. It's the porridge that Goldilocks picked. It's just about right of amount of stuff. We got Empire #4. I'm really liking this series so far. I'm glad that I decided not to get all those tie-in series and stuff like that. Like I'm getting the main story out of this just fine. I'm sure those other books, there's some really good stories in there, but it's doing the full tie-in stuff is just it's just too much for me. I think the first time I did that was with House of M, the whole No More Mutants thing. I got really into House of M. I got every tie-in. I bought every issue that had a tie-in. So just ongoing series that I wasn't reading at the time, I picked up those issues. I was just all in on House of M, and it was not the best. So now I just get those the main series of these, and if there's some side series that look sort of interesting, I might pick them up. But this is really good. Just the main series is doing fine. Though speaking of Fantastic Four, this is an Empire tie-in, which is fine. I get Fantastic Four anyway, and I think Fantastic Four is out of any of the books that have tie-ins, probably Fantastic Four and Avengers are probably the two most important. They seem to be sort of the impetus of the whole thing. I don't read Avengers anymore, but Fantastic Four do have that. Star Trek Year 5. This continues to be fantastic. I enjoy it every time. Batman 96. So this is part 2 of the Joker War. Again, the lead up to it was great. Well, with the designer and all that. The first part of this was good. So I'm interested to read more about it. Deadpool #6. Looks like we have some X-Men showing up. I think he's still the King of Monsters. I don't remember. So I don't know. Maybe he's showing up like on Krakoa or something like that. I don't know. Have to read to find out. Really, really cool Greg Land cover though. Let's see. Strange Adventures #4. This continues to be very interesting. Beautiful art. The story is it's a little. I might need to go back and reread it or hold off and reread it as a whole, because it's one of those where I think it's going to read better just as one whole story. Because I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what all is going on in it. And then I picked this up, Maestro. What is this? Maestro Marvel Tells Future Imperfect #1 or something like that. It's just reprints of Future Imperfect #1 and 2. I have the originals, but I do really like this story and like to reread it. So it's nice to have a reprint that I can easily reread without having to worry about reading the original copies that I have. This is something, I don't know. I might just put this on my bookshelf. Because it's such a nice, quick, easy thing to reread every once in a while, and it's such a great story. If you haven't read Future Imperfect, I highly suggest doing so, especially now you have no excuse that this reprint is out there and so easily available. Because I do believe that although there is a Maestro limited series coming out pretty soon, which I think it leads up to Future Imperfect. It says how the Maestro became the Maestro. Which I'm super, super excited about, because this is one of the best Hulk stories. So if you haven't read it, pick this up. If you have read it, pick it up so you can read it again. Well worth it. And then something I missed last week, Spider-Man Noir #2. I picked up the first issue. I forgot to add it to my poll, and then #2 came out, and I missed it. So I got that added. I picked up #2 and got it added to my poll officially, so I won't miss it again. All right, so last week, and made it through what I promised. Nothing more, nothing less. Really good stuff. Mostly really good stuff. So got through the Lucifer book 3. Really, really good. All this Sandman stuff that's going on, Sandman Universe stuff is really good. Finished up Alien Reality, the 2 TMNT books, the regular issue 107 and the annual. And if you don't pick up annuals and you're reading TMNT, you should probably pick this one up because it has story pertinent stuff in it. Not to what's going on right now, but what is going to be coming. Legion of Superheroes. Every time I kind of hem and haw on this one, and like, am I going to keep with it? Am I not? I'm going to keep with it. I really wasn't a big fan of that first arc. Like, it was okay. This issue was fine. I didn't have any major problems with it. It's getting very Bendis-y, very talking heads. When you look at a page and it's just walls of word balloons. Right, that was the biggest problem that Bendis, I felt, had for a while. And he seemed to be getting better, but he's kind of going back to form. Not that I don't like reading. I enjoy reading. It's just, with comic books, sometimes I don't want that walls of talking heads. It's not what I read comics for. Empire 3, great. Iron Man 2020, still great. Amazing Spider-Man, Sins Rising, interested to see where it goes. Archie 713, the end of this Katie Keene line, which is fine. It was not great. And the Free Comic Book Day, I just kind of skimmed. It was the first story in there was fine. The second one was just Riverdale stuff from the Riverdale book, which I don't really care about, so I didn't actually really read it. But then the fun stuff, the old fun stuff, well, some of it, kind of fun. Namor 41 through 45. Same gripes as I had last week. Getting into these mid to later issues, it's just 90s schlock, and not even the fun 90s schlock. A new creative team takes over in 44, and I read 44 and 45. I'm not going to judge it yet. 44 is basically, it's just taking the poem Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and making it Rhyme of the Ancient Submariner, and changing some things and putting pictures to it. It's kind of weird, but I'm not going to judge it on that. This was the 45 is the first real issue with the creative team that takes over in 44, and it was okay. It's still sort of this extreme Namor. He's got the long hair and whatnot, but he's not as super savage. They at least mention the Oracle Corporation here, so it's not 100% forgotten, but it's nothing important. It's like, oh, hey, you have this Oracle thing, and he's like, I don't care anymore. Namorita's been running it since I left. It's fine. Like, well, so I guess that's probably the nail in the coffin of what made the series great in the first place. But what are you gonna do? And then the 3 what ifs. What if 5? What if Captain America hadn't vanished during World War II? This is actually what if Captain America and Bucky both survived World War II. It's interesting. It doesn't really explain why it's different, but in this, Nick Fury ends up dying. So Steve Rogers is tapped to become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then Bucky becomes the new Captain America. And Rick Jones becomes the new Bucky, and then Bucky dies, and Rick Jones becomes the new Captain. It's all over the place, but it was interesting. It was an interesting read. I liked it. What if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers? This one wasn't great. So they just kind of talk about like, well, the reason that the Fantastic Four got their powers is based upon aspects of their personality. Sue is always kind of hiding in the background. So her power became invisibility, and Johnny was a hothead and a hot shot, so that sort of thing. So it's like, what if different aspects of their personalities came through? Ben always wanted to be a heroic, flyer, so he gets wings. Johnny was really into up-to-date cool tech and stuff, so he becomes a robot man. Like, it's and Sue Storm basically gets the same powers as Mr. Fantastic, as Reed Richards did. The elasticity was kind of lazy, and Reed Richards becomes just a brain, just a brain floating around. Out of all the what ifs I've read, this was the weakest. The other side of that, though, is what if number 7, what if someone else had become Spider-Man? This is one of the best ones that I've read. This is actually 3 stories. What if Flash Thompson got bitten by the spider, Colonel John Jameson got bitten by the spider, and Betty Brant got bitten by the spider? And you read through the 3 stories, and they're all good, some better than others. I'd rank them as Flash is the best, then Betty Brant, then Colonel Thompson, or Jameson. And just when you think you're done reading like this 3rd story, like, oh, that's going to be it, it all gets tied up in the end, like kind of together. It's pretty great. When Flash Thompson becomes Spider, in all of them, Peter Parker's there. It's just that these different people happen to show up when in the 616 reality they don't. So Flash Thompson shows up to the science experiment, and he gets bit and becomes Spider-Man, but he doesn't have the science know-how of Peter, so he doesn't create the web fluid. So when he's fighting the Vulture and going up in the sky, and it gets dropped, and when Peter Parker does that, he has his webs to save himself from falling to his death. Flash doesn't, so he falls and dies. End of Spider-Man. In the Betty Brant story, Betty's there with J. Jonah Jameson. She gets bit. Peter notices that she gets bit, and sort of takes care of her, and is there to witness the fact that she gets these spider powers. So they're kind of actually a team. Betty makes the costume. Peter makes the webs. He also takes pictures of her as Spider-Girl to make money, just like he does as Spider-Man to make money. In the end, the burglar that kills Uncle Ben runs by them. She's out of web fluid, but she's scared of using her powers. She's scared of using her strength, that she might hurt someone. And because she wasn't able to stop him with webs because they were out, she resisted using her strength. And he got away and then went and killed Uncle Ben. After that, she decided to quit being Spider-Man. She didn't have the responsibility. The great power comes great responsibility from Uncle Ben, so she just quit. And then with Colonel Jameson, he gets bit. Spidey everyone sees, but Jameson sees, J. Jonah Jameson sees, and talks him into becoming a superhero, and he becomes a huge advocate in the Bugle for superheroes, which is obviously ironic because of his stance in every other reality where he hates superheroes. They're a menace. In this case, he ends up dying also when saving the space shuttle that originally he was in. He ends up crashing with it and dying. And a memorial is made to him, and Jameson is like, from now on, the Bugle is going to be seeing these people as heroes and supporting them. Then at the end, it's all tied together because in each of those scenarios, Peter sees that radioactive spider bite someone, and keeps the spider. It's like, oh, this is interesting. It might be interesting to study. I'll do a thesis on it or something. And in all of them, he also knows by the end that the person that got bit by the spider got the spider powers. So he's like, oh, I wonder if I can use the spider's dead body to extract what it had and give it to myself and get spider powers. And he does, and becomes Peter Parker Spider-Man. So in all the worlds where Peter Parker doesn't get bit by the radioactive spider, he still becomes Spider-Man. And the Watcher shows up and says, in all realities, it is destined that Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man. And it's fantastic. I read that and I got the tingle. I'm getting the tingles now just talking about it. It's like, yes, Peter Parker is in all reality. Well, I mean, we know that now, that not in all realities, but at the time, he's like, in all realities, Peter Parker is destined to be Spider-Man, and it's fantastic. So, and I highly suggest picking at least that one issue up if you can. It's one of the harder what ifs to get, but it's a good one. So this week, just go ahead and gonna read all of the new stuff that I got, including the Future Imperfect reprint. I'm due for a reread of that anyway, and we'll do the same sort of that we did last time. I'll do 5 issues of Namor, so 46 through 50, including a super shiny number 50, where making out with Sue Storm. Oh man, his dream come true. The story you won't believe. The courtship of Sue Richards. Oh man. And then 3 more issues of What If. So that's What If 8, what if the world knew Daredevil was blind? What If 9, what if the Avengers had fought evil during the 1950s? Oh, 3D Man shows up. Weird. And what if Jane Foster had found the Hammer of Thor? What if number 10? This is one of those what if keys. There's very few what ifs that are really kind of worth something, but that is one of them. Although my copy not so much. There's a problem in the interior, but it is a very well presenting reader copy. So that is it. Thank you all. Let me know what you got this week and what you think of my pickups in the comments below, and like and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye. This video was brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.